Let's talk about Jey Uso. Hi, hello everyone. I'm Justin. This is Koopa. Welcome to Koopa's Corner. Main event, Jey Uso just won the Intercontinental Championship on Monday Night Raw from Bron Breakker. And it absolutely changes the landscape of the WWE. Enough so that I wanted to talk about it. I thought, let's make a little video. Let's have a chat. So first of all, let's talk about Bron Breakker. How do you guys feel about Bron Breakker? Do you think this makes him look weak, losing the championship this early into his run? Particularly off of his first defense. Well, his first challenger, I guess. I mean, he defended it against Sami Zayn. But he also won it from Sami Zayn. So, you know, Jey Uso was his first real defense, his first challenger. And he loses it right away. Now, I don't know Bron Breakker that well. I'm not an NXT guy. I haven't watched NXT in years. When I did watch it, it was long before Bron Breakker got there. So I don't know his character that well. I don't know what he's all about. But he came to Monday Night Raw causing absolute chaos, spearing the hell out of everybody. I mean, he looked like such a dominant force. And then he drops the title right away. I've seen some people say they think this will be a catalyst for a babyface turn. They think Bron Breakker's got a pretty high ceiling and they want to turn him face, which is why they took the title from him. Maybe that's the case. Maybe it's not. I don't know. I don't know if this really makes him look that bad. I mean, I think he'll be able to bounce back from it. I mean, he seems like he's got a lot of charisma, but it just was a very shocking move. And so, I don't know. What do you guys think? What do you guys think about Bron Breakker? Let me know in the comments about that. As for Jey Uso himself, a lot of people I know have been excited about this. They think it's finally time that, he won some singles gold in the WWE, having been a tag team guy pretty much his whole career. So whether you're excited about this or not, it definitely has me intrigued. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but it's definitely intriguing. And God, I think the biggest thing for me is, what does this mean for the Bloodline storyline? Because it felt pretty obvious the way the story should go was that Roman Reigns, apologizes to Jey Uso. He apologizes to Jimmy Uso. He gets his wise man back, possibly even the honorary Sami Zayn, and War Games becomes Civil War Games. And it's the Bloodline Civil War. You have the new Bloodline versus the OG Bloodline. That's the match. That is the match that should happen. And this feels like it's taking that story off track. I mean, it feels now almost like War Games is going to be Roman and Cody and Orton and Owens versus the Bloodline. To be perfectly honest, that sounds stupid as hell. Why should these guys team up with Roman after literal years of getting their asses whooped by the Bloodline? They have no reason to align just because he's a good guy now. But story-wise, it doesn't make any sense at all. And it sounds lazy. There was a money match on the table, very obviously on the table. Getting the band back together. They don't have to stay together long term. This doesn't mean we're going back to 4 more years of the OG Bloodline, but the Civil War Games is the match. So I guess the only possibility here with this not being taken completely off the table would be Solo or somebody from the new Bloodline cost Jimmy the Intercontinental Championship pretty early into his reign. And at that point, was it really worth putting the title on him in the first place? I mean, shortening Bron Breakker's reign and potentially damaging him that way for Jey to have such a short reign. And at that point, who does he drop it against? I mean, I think there are two pretty obvious challengers right off the bat. The first one being Xavier Woods. The tension between the New Day, them potentially splitting up, plus the New Day's history with the Usos. Xavier Woods would make an excellent challenger. There's no doubt about that. And he's been longing for some singles gold as well. So that's another possibility. But a couple of really short title reigns back to back in the Triple H era, which has been so refreshing to have these nice long title reigns where the title feels like it actually means something. It doesn't feel like you're going to hot potato the title around. So that he could just immediately drop it to Xavier Woods and then move into the Bloodline story from there. I think something that possibly makes even more sense than that would be Dominic Mysterio. Dirty Dom or Daddy Dom, depending on what your opinions on that are. I think that makes the most sense. It feels like, okay, you don't want Dom to beat Bron Breakker because you want to protect Bron Breakker that way. Well, Jey Uso is much more believable to defeat Bron Breakker. But then he can lose to Dom and not really be affected because the rest of the Judgment Day can get involved. I mean, Jey has been sort of adjacent to the Judgment Day storyline right now as it is. I think that's probably a best case scenario. You can continue to call Jey former Intercontinental Champion. He's got singles gold, and that's never going to be taken away from him now. Dominic Mysterio becomes the Intercontinental Champion. Imagine how annoying that's going to be with him and Liv if Liv, retains her title at Bad Blood. And, it also opens the door for Rhea Ripley, especially if Jey kind of gets out of the way, if he moves back to SmackDown, if he moves back to the Bloodline storyline. We don't have to do a mixed tag thing. We don't have to do, Rhea and Jey. I mean, some people like it, some people don't, but if Dom has the Intercontinental Championship and we build to an intergender match, which I hope this does, because this is probably the first storyline in such a long time that warrants it. And I know they don't do intergender matches in the WWE very often, but if we can move to Rhea versus Dom, and now we put the Intercontinental Championship on the line. So, okay, she doesn't win her Women's World Championship back, but she becomes Intercontinental Champion. What, the first woman to do it since Chyna? Is Chyna the only woman to do it? And Dom and Rhea, throughout their history together, had a lot of moments where they were sort of mimicking or alluding to Eddie Guerrero and Chyna. So Rhea's been sort of paralleling Chyna this whole time. It would actually be kind of incredible if this led to Rhea Ripley as Intercontinental Champion. But it still leaves a lot up in the air. That's a possibility, and knowing the WWE, I don't know if it's a good one. They don't like intergender matches, especially in the more modern era, dealing with, network executives. I completely understand it, but they are moving to Netflix next year. They won't have as many restrictions. They won't need to censor themselves as much as they have been. So it's a possibility. I don't know if it's a probability, but it's definitely a possibility. Ultimately, it's just, it was a really surprising moment on Monday Night Raw this past week. And I just wanted to chat about it a little bit. That's kind of all. I know I've been rambling a bit, but, I'm worried a little bit about Bron Breakker. I'm excited for the potential matchups that we can have out of this, but I think my biggest concern is just how does Jey get involved in the Bloodline storyline, or if the Bloodline storyline doesn't get the band back together. I think this makes it a lot less likely. So let me know what you guys think, particularly about Bron Breakker. I want to know what you think about whether you think this hurts him or not. And thanks for watching. See you in the next one.